Shallots are related to onions, but are sweeter and more subtle in flavor. Fermented shallots can be roasted in the oven, incorporated into dough for loaves of bread, or eaten raw in salads and on sandwiches. I'm thinking this also might make a tasty spread for some nice crusty bread. Bulb and root vegetables can be tricky to ferment using a wild fermentation. However, I'm going to give it a try here right after this. A wild fermentation uses the bacteria already present on the vegetables to start the process of fermentation. The process goes through several bacterial evolutions leading to lacto-fermentation, which is what we want. This can take several weeks. The first stages involve the proliferation of aerobic and sugar-loving bacteria to consume all of the oxygen and sugars, allowing the anaerobic bacteria such as lactobacillus to thrive and overtake the fermentation. This needs to happen relatively quickly, otherwise the sugar-loving bacteria will win out, producing an alcohol fermentation. For vegetables that grow above the soil, this isn't normally a problem. Root vegetables and bulbs, which grow under or very close to the surface of the soil, tend to have a higher sugar and carbohydrate content, which favors alcohol fermentation, winning out over lacto-fermentation. Because of this, most fruit bulbs and root vegetables are fermented using what's called an heirloom fermentation, where a bacterial starter is used to kickstart the proliferation of the bacteria we want. This also greatly shortens the fermentation time, but can result in mushy vegetables and fruits. I'm going to attempt a wild fermentation of baby shallots, so let's begin. Cut the stems of roughly 10 baby shallots, leaving the roots, and peel off the skin. I am leaving the roots on because that is where most of the beneficial bacteria are. Place a 1-quart mason jar on a kitchen scale and zero out its weight. Add the shallots to the jar. Add enough filtered water to completely cover the shallots. Be sure to make a note of the total weight shown on the scale. This is necessary to determine the proper salt concentration for the fermentation brine. Carefully pour the water out of the mason jar into another container. Since my total weight was 752 grams and I want a 2.5% salt concentration, I calculate that I need 18.75 grams of salt. My scale doesn't do fractional grams, so I will go to 19 and then gently back off to get to 18. That should be close enough. I use Himalayan sea salt. You can use any other salts, but do not use iodized table salt. The iodine will kill the bacteria we want to foster. Pour the salt into the water and stir until completely dissolved. Pour the brine back into the mason jar. Weigh down the shallots to keep them below the level of the brine. This prevents mold from forming. I am using a glass weight here because they fit in my jar and the vegetables are large enough to prevent them from floating around the sides. Finally, put an airtight cap on the jar. I am using a special fermentation lid which allows gases to escape but not re-enter. This relieves pressure inside the jar and keeps oxygen out. If you use a regular lid, make sure to loosen it a bit every couple of days to let the trapped gases out. Try to open it as little as possible to minimize oxygen getting back in. You can also use an airlock device, which serves the same purpose. And that's it. We'll check it again in about 5 weeks to see how it turns out. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please click that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications to continue to receive great content that hits you right in the gut. And tell your friends.